Hi, guys. I hope you're having a wonderful week. I'm so excited to be here and I'm excited about what you're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about friendship. I was doing my Bible study and this story captivated me so much, and I thought I have to do this, I have to share this with you, and I'm excited for it. So, we are going to base our study on the book of 1 Samuel chapter 18, and we're going to talk about two very good friends, Jonathan and David. And it reminds me of this series I watched. It's called Anne of Green Gables, or is it Anne with an E? She talks about the best way to find a friend is to be one, and she talks about friendship as having more like having a kindred spirit, which means that you're connected in such a unique way, your energies match, you're able to know what your friend is thinking, what you would feel like in a certain situation. And I believe the story of Jonathan and David encapsulates this kind of true friendship, that kind of kindred spirit where you're together. Like your friendship transcends time or distance. It's just a very unique kind of friendship. So I'm gonna go straight to reading 1 Samuel chapter 18 verse 1, and it says, "After David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself." So you see, I believe David and Jonathan had this kind of kindred friendship where he loved him as he loved himself. And you see, he says that Jonathan became one in spirit with David. So I believe one quality of good friendship is that kind of kindred spirit. Yeah. So the next thing that you learn from their story is it was a covenant friendship. I read about their friendship and how they used to make covenants with each other, and it was amazing. And you can read, if I can continue reading, from that day Saul kept David with him and did not let him return to his father's house. And Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. I love how it emphasizes that he loved David as he loved himself. And they made a covenant. And this is how Jonathan took off the robe he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic and even his sword, his bow and his belt. Remember, Jonathan was the son to King Saul. So for him giving him these things, it meant that he valued him so much, and it was a symbol of their friendship. The same way today people give each other things as a symbol of their friendship, just to indicate that this friendship is very meaningful. And for Jonathan, it was a covenant. It was a covenant that he had made. He made a choice to be David's friend. And you can also, when we go ahead to read 1 Samuel chapter 20 verse 16. Chapter 20 verse 16, it says, what does it say? It says, "So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, 'May the Lord call David's enemies to account.' And Jonathan had David reaffirm his oath out of love for him, because he loved him as himself." Again, they are reiterating that David and Jonathan's friendship was more like a covenant. And remember, at this time, King Saul was jealous of David and he wanted to kill him. So at this time, he says he made a covenant with David again, saying, "May the Lord call David's enemies to account." You see, he's also saying that it's more like your enemies, let God deal with your enemies. Because I love you so much, may God deal with your enemies, whoever is chasing after you. And isn't it funny that David's enemies or biggest enemy was King Saul, who was his father? It's crazy. And Jonathan had David reaffirm his oath out of love for him. So having covenants is really not a bad thing, because it just shows that you two love each other and you're willing to make it work. It also helps you in committing to that particular friendship. So, and I'll also read chapter 18 verse 23. 18:23, it says, okay, well, I don't know, I'm confused. Okay, so this was at a time, I think it was 2 Samuel, I say. At a time, King Saul was still chasing after David, and it was at Horesh. Let me just quickly find that. It was at Horesh. It should be 2 Samuel chapter 1. 2 Samuel chapter 1. So sorry guys, it's taking a bit long. 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 23 verse 18. I don't know, I can't see it. Okay, maybe it's okay, sorry, it's 1 Samuel 23 verse 18. So okay, I'll go up a bit. Okay, so as I've said, this was a time when King Saul was still looking for David very fiercely, and so verse 18 says, the two of them made a covenant before the Lord. Then Jonathan went home, but David remained at Horesh. So you just get to see that they still kept their covenant. At every time they continued reminding each other about the covenant that they'd made to each other, or the oaths that they'd made to each other. I think if you read the whole story of David and Jonathan, you'll see how Jonathan really and David kept the covenant. So the third thing is good friends warn their friends of impending danger. When you read the story, you'll see that Jonathan warned David when his father wanted to kill him. And I'll read 1 Samuel chapter 19, verse 1. It says, Saul told his son Jonathan and all the attendants to kill David. But Jonathan was very fond of David and warned him, my father Saul is looking for a chance to kill you. Be on your guard tomorrow morning. Go into hiding and stay there. So you see, imagine your father tells you, go and kill that person. But because you have a very good friendship, you see, Jonathan says he was very fond of David, and he told him, my father wants to kill you. Go and hide. I believe as good friends, when you see that something bad is going to happen to your friend, it is good that you inform them. Good friends do not hide things that will hurt their friends. Good friends are open. They tell their friends when there is impending danger. They tell their friends that whatever you're going to do is not okay. It will lead to bad consequences. So I think, and Jonathan was a good example. He tells David, go, run, hide. My father is coming after you. It's danger is coming. Yeah, so another thing is friends speak well of each other. David and Jonathan, they always spoke well of each other, and especially Jonathan. When you read chapter 19 verse 4, it says, Jonathan spoke well of David to Saul his father and said to him, let not the king do wrong to his servant David. He has not wronged you, and what he has done has benefited you greatly. He took his life in his hands when he killed the Philistine. The Lord won a great victory for all Israel, and you saw it and were glad. Why then would you do wrong to an innocent man like David by killing him for no reason? So you see, Jonathan stands up to his father and asks him, "But why do you want to kill David when in fact he has brought so much victory to Israel?" He spoke good things about David. So as friends, we should be able to talk about, when we have opportunity, talk good things about your friends. Don't be the kind of friends who, when you're with other friends, you backbite, you say bad thing concerning your friends. Or when you're in a group of friends and they're saying maybe, Bilia is like this and like this, and you really know the kind of person that he is, assuming they are having a wrong perception. Tell them, no, I know Joy. She's hardworking. She'll be able to do this job well. Joy is not how you think she is. She's a very good person. Good friends talk well about their friends, even in their absence, especially in their absence. So when you also read so after Jonathan had told his father that, and it made Saul listened to him and he took an oath. He said, "As surely as the Lord lives, David will not be put to death." Just because Jonathan spoke well of David, it made Saul take an oath that he will not be put to death. But we'll later see that he changed his mind. An evil spirit came over him. So once Saul had made that oath, Jonathan called David and told him the whole conversation. He brought him to Saul, and David was with Saul as before. That's really cool. I believe this was a very good friend, standing up to your father, the king, telling him about good things about your friend, and even making him the point of changing his verdict, or making an oath of not killing him. And then he brought David to the king, and the relationship was restored. Another thing is, good friends are ready to help at any time. At any time. You can read Proverbs chapter 17, verse 17. Proverbs 17, verse 17. It says, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity." This means that a good friend especially shows up in times of trouble, at all times, but especially at a time of adversity. And that's the kind of friend that Jonathan was to David. David was being pursued fiercely by King Saul, and David stood by him. Let's read 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 4. It says, "Jonathan said to David, 'Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it for you.'" Yeah. Okay, I'll read. I'll go back a bit. Then David fled from Naioth at Ramah and went to Jonathan and asked, "What have I done? What is my crime? How have I wronged your father that is trying to take my life?" "Never," Jonathan replied. "You're not going to die. Look, my father doesn't do anything, great or small, without confiding in me. Why would he hide this from me? It's not so." But David took an oath and said, "Your father knows very well that I have found favor in your eyes," and he has said to himself, "Jonathan must not know this, or he will be grieved. Yet as surely as the Lord lives, and as you live, there is only a step between me and death." Jonathan said to David, "Whatever you want to do, I'll do it for you." So this was a time that, again, King Saul is looking for David. David again goes to confide in Jonathan, and that's another good thing. When you're having trouble, as a friend, confide in your very good friends. It's good to confide. I think David was so troubled that he went back to his friend. I was like, why is your father trying to kill me? Why? And Jonathan told him, as a good friend, told him, don't worry, my friend, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it for you. And when you read further, you see that they agreed that there was a festival coming up. So Jonathan was to gauge whether King Saul, who is his father, still wants to kill David, and then he would relay that information to David so that David would again go and hide. So good friends are always ready to help. Always ready to help. You might not be able to help in a certain way, but make yourself available to give help. When your friends are in trouble, tell them, I'll help you in whatever way I can. It might be financial, it might be just listening to what they're saying. Just be willing to help. You can go and also read chapter 20, that's 1 Samuel 20:12. Verse 12 says, Then Jonathan said to David, By the Lord, the God of Israel, I will surely sound out my father by this time, the day after tomorrow. If he is favorably disposed to you, if he is favorably disposed towards you, will I not send you word and let you know? So they agreed that if his father is disposed towards David, Jonathan will let David know, and then David will go and hide. And that's what actually happened. And when you look at during the festival, it was a new moon festival. David's seat was empty. So they had agreed that I'll not come to the festival. You gauge how your father will what he'll say about me, and then he'll send word if he wants to kill me. So I'll read chapter 8, verse 18. Then Jonathan said to David, Tomorrow is a new moon festival. Maybe that's not it. Chapter 20, verse 12 to 13. Okay, sorry. Okay, so yeah. Then Jonathan said to David, Tomorrow is the new moon festival. You'll be missed because your seat will be empty. The day after tomorrow, towards evening, go to the place where you hid. Okay, tells him about it. So, okay. Chapter 20, verse 24. So David hid in the field, and when the new festival came, the king sat down to eat. He sat in his customary place and by the wall opposite Jonathan, and Abner sat next to Saul. But David's place was empty. Saul said nothing, for he thought maybe something must have happened to him. So I'll go back, and then it says, But the next day, the second day of the month, David's place was empty again. Then Saul said to his son Jonathan, Why hasn't the son of Jesse come to the meal either yesterday or today? David has not shown up. It's the new moon festival. Why is he not showing up? Of course, Jonathan knew why David was not coming, because David knew King Saul wanted to kill him. So Jonathan says, David honestly asked me for permission to go to Bethlehem. He said, Let me go because our family is observing a sacrifice in the town, and my brother has ordered me to be there. We all know that was a lie. So Jonathan, as a good friend, covered up for David. He knew David was hiding, but he did not want to tell his father that. So he just covered up for him. So I believe as good friends, there are situations that will come that we'll need to stand up for our friends. We'll need to cover up for them, especially when danger is looming, so that they might not be in danger. Something bad might not happen to them. Sometimes it's good to cover up for your friends in a good way. Okay? So, yeah. So, so another thing is good friends keep their word and they keep secrets together. Like, once they agree this is a secret between us, that's it. So 1 Samuel 20 verse 13, we get to see that Jonathan warned David about the danger. They had agreed that if there's danger, he'll send a boy, then he'll throw the arrows farther away, and then David will know that King Saul is looking for him. And he kept to his word, and that is what he did. But if my father is inclined to harm you, may the Lord deal with me, be it so severely, if I do not let you know and send you away safely. Jonathan assured David that if my father wants to kill you, I will surely let you know. And if I do not let you know, may the Lord deal with me so severely. You see, that again brings us to the kind of relationship we had, a covenant relationship. So strong, kept assuring him that I assure you, I will do this and I'm going to do this. And for sure, Jonathan did as he had promised. He told him what the king would do to him. King Saul still wanted to kill him, surprisingly. Good friends also pray for their friends. 1 Samuel 20 verse 13. So he said, may the Lord deal with me so severely if I do not let you know and send you away safely. May the Lord be with you as he has been with my father. But show me unfailing kindness like that of the Lord as long as I live, so that I may not be killed, and do not ever cut off your kindness from my family. Not even when the Lord has cut off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. So Jonathan knows that his friend David is in danger. He prays for him. He tells him, may the Lord be with you as he has been with my father David. God be with you. He probably was not able to do anything, but he prayed for him, told him, God be with you. And further, if you read chapter 20, verse 23, it says, and about the matter you and I discussed, remember, the Lord is witness between you and me forever. Well, okay, sorry, that's about keeping, okay, kept his word. I meant 2042. Jonathan said to David, go in peace, for we have shown friendship with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, the Lord is witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever. Again, a covenant friendship. David is going into hiding. Jonathan tells him, go in peace. May the Lord be with you. And may this our friendship continue between me and you and your descendants. May this friendship of ours continue to be shown even past this life of ours. Wow, it's a really good thing. Good friends pray for their friends. Pray for your friends. When they are in trouble, when they are celebrating something good, pray for them, that they may be victorious. They might win their battles. Pray for your friends. One other thing is, good friends express their love for their friends. They express how they feel for their friends. Jonathan and David loved each other so much. And remember when David was going to hiding, Jonathan told David, tomorrow is the new moon festival, that's 2018. You will be missed because your seat is empty. Jonathan makes sure that he tells David that I will surely miss you because you will not be there, meaning that he enjoyed his company, he enjoyed his friendship. It's always good to tell our friends how we feel about them. Tell them how they make you feel, what value they add to your life. And Jonathan remembered to do that. Told David, you will not be there, but I will surely miss you because your seat will be empty. That's really incredible. And 2034 says, Jonathan got up from the table in fierce anger. On the second day of the month, he did not eat because he was grieved at his father's shameful treatment of David. You see, King Saul still wants to kill David, even after taking an oath that he will not kill him. And Jonathan is so grieved that he doesn't even eat. That is how deep their friendship was. He is grieved. The Bible says that Jonathan was grieved and he did not eat. And he was ashamed of his father's actions because he wanted to kill David. So when you read further, that is Jonathan. When you read verse 31, they were at table, obviously. I'll read. Saul's anger flared up. That is after Jonathan lied about where David was. Then Saul's anger flared up at Jonathan, and he said to him, "You son of a perverse and rebellious woman, don't I know that you have sided with the son of Jesse to your own shame and to the shame of the mother who bore you? As long as the son of Jesse lives on this earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be established. Now send and bring him to me, for he must die." Isn't that crazy? The king curses his own son because Jonathan stood by his friend David. That is how much he loved his friend David, to the point that it's okay if it means his father cursing him, then it's fine. He's not going to betray his friend David. Imagine, King Saul cursed Jonathan because he stood with David. And even that did not make their friendship shake, that is. He still stood by him. When you read 20:41, so Jonathan does what they had agreed, sends a boy with the arrows. David knows that. Indeed, King Saul wants to kill me. So after the boy had gone, David got up from the south side of the stone where he was hiding and bowed down before Jonathan 3 times with his face to the ground. Then they kissed each other and wept together. But David wept the most. I'm sure David could not believe that, oh my dear friend is still covering up for me. My friend is still keeping his word. And he cried. I believe he also cried because he found out that King Saul still wanted to kill him. I believe a part of him was like, I hope he's not gonna kill me. So we said that good friends express their love for each other. I can imagine how they were kissing each other, hugging each other, crying, because now they have to part ways. King Saul is going after David. They have to part ways, and they cried. And the Bible says David wept the most. Wow, this is a really good friendship. Tell your friends that you love them. Show them by your actions. Do not just assume that they know you love them. Show them. Tell them. So, and when you read further, David also, you can tell how they loved each other by, when later on when Jonathan dies, in 2 Samuel 1 verse 12, that is 2 Samuel, David cries. He cries and laments in a song. And that is from verse 1, chapter 1, 12 to 27. And at verse 26, he says, "I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother." They were more than friends. They called each other brothers. "I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. You are very dear to me. Your love for me was wonderful, more wonderful than that of women." How wonderful was their friendship. I can only imagine how they loved each other. And I really want that kind of friendship. More wonderful. Listen. More wonderful than that of women. Like bros. They were bros, brothers for life. Not even women would come between them. Yeah. So that's really good. And another thing about friends is that friends help their friends find strength in God. They comfort them. I'll go back to 1 Samuel chapter 23 verse 16. 1 Samuel chapter 23 verse 16. While David was at Horesh in the desert of Ziph, I've gone back to 15, he learned that Saul came out to take his life. And Saul's son Jonathan went to David at Horesh and helped him find strength in God. Don't be afraid, he said. My father will not lay a hand on you. You will be king over Israel, and I will be second to you. Even my father knows this. So Jonathan goes all the way to David where he was hiding at Horesh, and he tells him, and he goes just to comfort him, because he knows David must be going through a very hard time. My father wants to kill him. He helps him find strength in God. He tells him, do not worry, do not be afraid. You will even be king over Israel. I will be second to you. And even my father knows this. He encouraged him in his lowest moment. And this is the kind of friendship that we all need. Friends who encourage us, friends who help us, direct us to God, push us to God, especially in our lowest times, especially in our weakest times. They push us to God. They remind us that this is what God says. They push us to God. They make us find strength in God, because in any way, there's nothing Jonathan could have done. King Saul was still pursuing him. So whatever he had within him, helping David find strength in God, he did it. And that was a good thing. So when you read, I hope you can be able to read chronologically the story of Jonathan and David. Their friendship is one that I admire so much, and it's one that I would wish all of us to emulate. Let's be that kind of friendship. And I'll give you a bonus tip or point. One, there comes a time when King Saul and Jonathan dies, and in 2 Samuel, remember the covenant that they had made about kindness. Yeah, that was in 1 Samuel chapter 18. That is verse 9. It says, okay, let me just find it. Okay, sorry, it was verse 20 verse 14. But show me, that's Jonathan telling David, show me unfailing kindness like that of the Lord as long as I live, so that I may not be killed. And do not ever cut off your kindness from my family, not even when the Lord has cut off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. He tells David, do not ever cut off your kindness from my family. The same kindness that you show to me, extend it to my family, please. Oh. And after his death, you see that David goes back to the house of Saul or Jonathan, and he says, and he tries to he finds someone who, that is 2 Samuel chapter 9. David asked, is there anyone still left of the house of Saul to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake? David would, I believe, if they didn't have a very close friendship, he wouldn't have gone back to ask such a question. He says, for the sake of Jonathan. And he finds, when you read along, you'll find out that he finds that there's one son to Jonathan called Mephibosheth. He's crippled, and he tells him, so he asks him to be brought, and he tells him, do not be afraid. David said to him, for I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table. So David made sure that Mephibosheth, the crippled son to Jonathan, got his grandfather's property. He ate at his table. He had someone talking for him in the field, and he always ate at his table. And this just goes to show you how good friendship manifests itself. It doesn't just end between you two. It extends to your families. It enables you to have favor. Even your children will have favor because of your friendships with each other. Because of your friendships, your children will get jobs. Your children will get opportunities. Your children will not lack just because of the kinds of friendship that you hold. So it's my prayer that we emulate this kind of friendship. David and Jonathan are really good friendship. They were kindred spirits. They kept a covenant relationship so dear to each other. So thank you for being part of this Bible study. I will do a part 2 where we'll talk further about friendships. I'll talk about my own friendships, and we'll see how to navigate through our friendships. How do we find friends? How do we maintain relationships between friends? Thank you so much. See you next time.